For those of you who are hearing this podcast in the year 3000, you already know what has happened. History has already written itself. We all know that it was former President Trump, former President Biden that were working in cahoots with one another. Russia and China were just bystanders. It was Poland all along who now dominates the world through their guys. The guest that I really think that everyone needs to hear about and be educated about today. We've all heard of the cyber attacks on Colonial Pipeline. We heard about the cyber attacks on JBS. It's the world's largest meat supplier. Today with me is Mr. Felix Asare, international cybersecurity expert. Felix, what in the world is going on?
Oh, my goodness. Mike, thank you so much for bringing me on here. It is a pleasure to be on the show with you and to hear all your stories. But I have something to tell you too. So cybersecurity, I mean, it is getting big, and it's getting bigger and bigger every day. Mm-hmm. And on this podcast, or I should say on this, our chat today, the goal is to let everybody know that this touches you. It is personal.
I've got McAfee, software protection. I think I'm okay, Felix. Got McAfee. What's the big deal?
I guess we're going to find out.
Educate me.
All right. So, whenever I speak anywhere, I talk at any conference, I like to make things very personal, because most people, like you just mentioned, they say, well, I have this software, I don't even use my computer for this. I think cybersecurity, or security as a whole, touches every one of us. So before I talk to you guys about who I am and everything that Mike was just talking about, I think he's just exaggerating it. Let's just look at some specific numbers. So Mike, if you don't mind, I would like to share my screen and then just show a little bit of what is happening in the world here.
Please do so. You're good to go, sir.
So as we are going through this, what I want you to ask yourself is, number one, do you even know you've been attacked? Do you even know if you've been hacked? Have you been hacked? Do you know? Do you have an idea?
Gosh.
Thinking for a second.
Felix, all I know is what I hear in the news, right? So my natural inclination is, unless my computer has been frozen up, or I've gotten an email telling me give me so much money in Bitcoin, I'm going to say no. I mean, that's the way these cyber attacks usually work. Your system is frozen up. You get an email saying, pay us $5,000 in Bitcoin or whatever the astronomical fee is, and we'll let you loose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So, well, let's find out, Mike. And let me know when you guys can see my screen here. I'm just trying to make it a little bit smaller. And
we see you. You're live on the air. Camera number 3.
All right. Perfect. So, do you know that it takes an average of about 206 days for any industry to detect they've been breached?
What?
206, guys. 206 days. And this depends on the industry you are in. If you're in healthcare, it goes up to over 400.
What? Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. Now,
206 days before I even know if I've been breached on. This is average.
Oh, yeah. And this is, I mean, just to put this in context, this is not, Mike, with, a small business building. This is the big clinics. This is the big hospitals. This is the big pharma. Those are the ones I'm talking about here. They have all the money to be able to protect themselves. They have over 2,000 staff, and it takes 206 days.
Wow.
So let that sink in for a little bit. And then I showed, the different industries. So technology is a little bit smaller. Public sector, it's a little smaller. And then the cost, so there are 2 parts here. One, what you see on the screen is the blue part, how long it takes and how much it costs them per capita.
Out of curiosity's sake, Felix, our company, we do a lot of work in the transportation industry. Do you have
Mhm.
any data on the
Um,
what's it say for the
I don't
transportation
think
industry there?
transportation over here takes 192 days right there.
192 days, guys, before we
Right
have
there.
figured out we've been hacked. What's the typical cost
About $128 per data that's lost.
per data that's lost?
Yes,
128 bucks per piece of data lost.
exactly. But now this
Jeez.
is the other part. This is what you've been seeing in the news.
Yeah.
Every 14 seconds, there's a ransomware happening. What I mean by ransomware for people who don't understand is somebody locking your computer up or your system up and saying, pay me this amount before I can leave you back to where you are at. Or I'm going to sell your data or I'm going to put it out on the internet.
Every 14 seconds.
Every 14 seconds.
Uh, that's
Yes.
hard to fathom. That's
But
hard to fathom. I mean, because when we hear in the news, Felix, it's like maybe it's happened for those of us who watch the news fairly closely on these sort of
yep.
things. Maybe it happens 3 or 4 times a year if it's newsworthy. But you're saying every 14 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Every 14 seconds, someone is getting hit by a ransomware attack. I mean, you just saw this with the companies that we just talked about with Colonial and then the Colonial Pipeline people and then the meat factory, right? Largest meat producing factory got hit. Ransomware.
And from if I'm trying to piece this together,
Yes.
what you're saying, Felix, is that you said it was on average 206 days before you're even detected.
Absolutely.
Right. So is it safe to make an assumption that those who had infiltrated this software, the protective software, they had been there possibly long before the day that they shut the system down?
Yeah. So in cybersecurity, and we are going to get a little bit deeper into this as we have the conversation. So yeah, okay, let's just go back. So if a thief tries to go into a home, right? Or let's just say a bank robber, there's the first step where they have to identify the bank.
Right.
We've all seen the bank robbery movies. They have to identify which bank.
Right.
They have to figure out a way to get into the bank.
Okay.
Once they get there, they have to figure out a way to get into where they have the critical data or where the money is.
Okay.
Once they get the money, they have to figure out a way to get the money out and then stay without getting caught. So there are different parts to this. That's what a lot of people don't talk about. So when we talk about cybersecurity, what we really mean is, number one, if you are a company, right? It's about how do you figure out the risk that's involved in being able to protect your critical data. What is the likelihood that your critical data is going to be disclosed? Like someone can actually come in, get access to your critical data, disclose it, or alter your critical data.
Gosh dang.
That's what cybersecurity is about.
Well, and according to this, it's every 14 seconds. This is happening. And this is ransomware.
This is just ransomware.
That's just the ransomware of it.
This is just the ransomware. Now, I have something to show you, Mike. For folks who are using these tools, of course, because ransomware, you have to have a tool to go, put on people's computer and then have it lock it, right? Now, they are not sitting down trying to be the big coders. Anybody can just go buy these tools to do it, and they cost as cheap as $1.
Oh, wait a minute.
So
say that again.
If I want to go buy an existing PayPal account, if I want to go buy 1 million compromised accounts, because and I'll explain what I mean by 1 million compromised accounts in a second here. Just ride with me. So I want to be able to get into Mike's account, right?
Right.
One of the ways that I can do that is to figure out his username and then his password.
Okay.
But what if I can go over and figure out any of the sites that have been hacked, because every 14 seconds someone is getting hit.
Right.
And then go buy the data from the ones that they got hacked and they sold online. It's going to cost me about $25 to buy that.
25. So this information is sold online, openly.
Absolutely, openly. And when I say openly, there are some sites you can find this, but there's also the other side of, and maybe we can also talk more. Man, it looks like I'm going to have to put a lot of things on the list so we can talk about here, because a lot of folks don't understand when they are searching for things online. There are different parts of the internet that you even search for things online for. So where I would go search to buy some of these things will not be this your normal Google that anyone would use.
Okay.
But there is a marketplace where you can go and buy all of this, and this is how much it costs.
$1 for complete cybercrime
Yep.
tooling kit. $1.
Yep, just $1. If I want to get a social media account so I can follow Mike on LinkedIn and then be friends and create, I can get it right there. Legit everything.
Wow. And this is information available that's already been hacked, right?
Information available that's already been hacked. I actually have something else to show you here. So,
wow.
This is everybody. I mean, if you are wondering, hey, what is really going on here? Like these guys, and as we wait for this to load, if you use any one of these services,
Facebook,
if you've stayed at a hotel, Marriott, if you've done any one of the, Equifax, yep, you have an account that has been compromised.
Oh my gosh, Twitter. And there's hundreds of small Uber.
Yeah.
So you're saying if I take an Uber,
MyFitnessPal. So you decide, oh, you know what? I'm just going to try to stay healthy. Well, they got hacked. 150 million records were stolen. Now, most people will use the same username and password they will use for MyFitnessPal might be the same one they use for their Uber account. So you see where this is going. So if I can go, this is what I was referring to earlier. So if I can go by the data from when the guy stole this and when the guy stole this and when the guy stole this, I can correlate and then figure out what your password is and the things that you are interested in. Easy.
Hack 3, so to speak, hack 3. And it sounds like you can find what info a person has just from one hack.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And then you trail them to the other platforms and you just, oh my gosh.
I mean, if you just correlate right here, Facebook,
yeah.
That's a gold mine right there. If you go through the SolarWinds one, I mean, these are the big circles are the ones that you see.
Right.
Yahoo. I mean, you can't tell me you've not stayed in any one of the Marriott hotels since 2018.
I have.
Absolutely. So what happened to that data? When you got in there, you had to put in your name, your address, and then you probably even have a Marriott Rewards account.
How often were they hacked?
So the Marriott one is actually very interesting.
Okay.
In 2014, right? The Marriott one, you don't even want to know. 2014, they were hacked. But remember the slide I showed you earlier? They did not know till about 2018 when they were trying to go through a mergers and acquisition with another company.
Wait, Felix. Okay. Slow. Okay, Felix lives in this world, people. Okay, and for those of us who think that we're all well and good with our spyware, Felix lives this. I'm trying to get caught up. I'm having my reaction. So you're saying Marriott was hacked in 2014.
Yep.
And they did not know about it until 2018.
No idea. The hackers had been in there for so long that Mike, they even had tags on the data. So, I mean, think about this. Imagine you join Marriott in 2016. What you see is what you see. You think it's all clean. Well, no.
And how was it detected again?
So it was when they were trying to merge with another company. When the other company said, well, let's just do a whole security assessment. And they were like, wait a minute. Why are we seeing scripts in here saying, hey, we have stolen, 3,000 records from this one. we have these ones left. Why don't you take them out?
So it was almost found by accident, Felix. Is that what you're
Oh yeah,
saying?
yeah, 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 yeah.
They had been in there for 4 years.
Four
And I'm
years.
just going to take cursory guests information, information on just the guests for one segment. But you're telling me they had these things tagged, different data tagged.
Yep.
So we're talking guests, we're talking employees, we're talking you name it, right?
Anything. They were like, so I go
It
back
was
to the
like a
bank.
grocery store.
I go back to the bank robbery story. It's just like they'd been in there, they'd figured out the way. So like I said, number one, they have to figure out their target, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they get in. Once they get in, get the data out. They exfiltrate the data, right?
Right.
Now, these guys had been stealing the data for so long. So if you use the bank robbery story, they could say, hey, we have taken all the stuff from safe number 1 to safe number 50. We have safe number 65 and safe number 67 left. We can't open that one. That's how bad it was. And if you want to see, like, if someone is listening to us, right, under the sound of our voice, and they're like, well, what does an attack really look like? I will show you one of the attacks. Like, this is what we look at when we are at work. So today alone, from one of our vendors,
right,
we have seen about 438,000 attacks.
Okay. So this is live data.
This is live data. Local time here is 2:40.
Okay. And their attacks today, Felix, up here under local time, it says attacks today, 439,000. And that Absolutely. Thing keeps going up.
It keeps going up, and it's happening. Some of these are ransomware. Some of these are, I mean, anything that you can think of. And the countries where they are coming from, China, yellow is where they are the sources, right? They are the attackers. And then they are going into, so from China, Thailand, coming into the States. Yeah, everywhere.
And it looks like the top 5 industries as of today, right? Financial services. Services and consulting, telecom, manufacturing, insurance. And that looks like it can fluctuate at any moment.
Any moment.
And the ticker keeps going up. For those of you who can't see this, we're close to 440,000 cyber attacks today.
And we've only been here looking at this, the last 30 seconds. And it keeps going up.
It keeps going up.
Yep. So you had asked the question, Felix, tell us about yourself. I am just going to tell you guys about me. Let me stop this here. Wow. And that way it's easier. Can you guys see my screen?
We can see we can.
All right. So my name is Felix Asare. I actually grew up in Ghana, West Africa. When I was 16, I had watched a TV show. I can't even remember which one it was, but I think it was X-Files or one of those. There was a lady who was hacking, and it felt and looked so cool. I wanted to do the same thing. So I started off.
You wanted to be a hacker.
I wanted to be a hacker. It was just cool. She sat in front of her computer. Actually, she had like 4 screens, and then she was just going. It just was so cool.
You can hear the keyboard humming as she's just typing around, and
typing around, and she could find everyone in a few seconds, and she could get into the bank. It was just cool. So I wanted to be like that. Decided to leave Ghana and come to the United States. So did my undergrad in computer information systems, master's in cybersecurity. And like you can see here, throughout the years, I've been, working as a certified ethical hacker, some of the certs that they say we should get and learn about. And I also enjoy leadership. I enjoy having fun. I enjoy doing a lot of things. So one of the things that we have in common, Mike likes bodybuilding.
One of these days it's going to show. One of these days.
Maybe we might get there. So yeah, I ended up doing, I was actually a model. So did some modeling for Calvin Klein and Banana Republic. And that led me into the path of, well, how do I, get myself to look different and then get to the top of my game? And how do I be like these guys who are that big and shredded? So we ended up going to go do some local shows. They were like, hey, we think you can do Arnold Classic. Went into Arnold Classic,
Wow.
placed, and they're
It's a
like,
big
oh,
one.
you can get this one-time chance where you can go to Mr. Olympia. And then they just kind of followed from there. And since then, I have taken a little break from bodybuilding, been focusing more on cybersecurity, and I work for a company. So if any one of you guys listening to me, if you've ever bought airline tickets and purchased insurance, I work for a company called Allianz. And
Yes.
yes, so you might have seen us. Yep. So I am their Deputy Chief Information Security Officer for North America.
Okay. Very
And
well. Very big company, well established. Okay. And it looks like for those of you, who are listening to us on our show and on our YouTube channel, it looks like Felix, you've got like 8 certifications in cybersecurity.
yes.
And I think that Felix, again, we continue to find common ground together. You had a modeling career with Calvin Klein. What a lot of people don't know about me, and well, some do, is that 2 years ago, I modeled for our church fundraiser,
Mm-hmm.
in which I modeled clothes that we were handing out. So I
Nice.
had the honor of walking on stage while modeling used
Nice.
clothing for our church. Anyhow, and I do go to the gym 4 times a week. So my gosh, folks, if you saw Felix and I standing side by
Yeah,
side,
you could not tell the difference.
you could not tell the difference.
Nope.
You'd say these guys identical, separated at birth. So so Felix, it seems as if from what you're telling us right now, cyber attacks, this isn't even the tip of the iceberg. This is an industry unto itself.
Yes. So, I mean, think about this. If you can go online and let me show you guys one thing that will actually help make sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So, if you look at this right here, when you think about the internet, like you are trying to search for something, you would go on Google, right?
Right.
All the things that we have been doing, I mean, that's literally just 4% of the internet. Just 4.
Okay. Google, Facebook, Instagram, Yahoo. Okay.
Yahoo, that's just 4%. There's the deep web, there's the surface web. That's what we've been browsing. That's what everyone does. But
Okay.
these guys who are sophisticated and then do a lot of the bad things that we see online don't just browse here.
Right.
They are down here on the dark web.
So we've got the deep web and the dark web.
Absolutely. So, I mean, if you have your academic records, it belongs to the school. If you have your financial records, that's part of the deep web. That's
okay.
Special access to get there. But really what is happening in the background is underneath here, where things that happen there are like things that you would see in movies. So you can seriously just say, hey, I don't like Mike anymore because he became a model and then he took my shine. All right, guys, I need you to go and attack Mike for me. And then you can find people who will do that. And they will literally gather all the computers that they have and go shut things down.
So they would shut Mike's system, his personal systems down. And when you say everything, Felix, take me what everything means. Because I just mean maybe I can't get on Facebook anymore or LinkedIn.
Yeah. So if you remember, I think this was way back in 2017. I might have the date wrong. Sony was down for almost a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's this whole, it's more like a robot network, right? Where let's just say, in order for me to shut Mike's computers down, Mike has business, I need to shut his computers down. I'm going to need about 10 computers worth computing power to be able to shut it down, right?
Okay.
Well, what if I don't have that 10? I can go pay people who will give me 10 resources of computing power to go shut Mike's systems down. So they will overload his systems with requests, and Mike's computers or his systems will not be able to respond to them. And then that's it. They will fail. So with this, I would actually like to explain a point, which is hacking. A lot of people hear hacking and then they think it's, just this word coined out of the sky. Really, it's not that. It's anything that is intended for good. If you are able to turn it around, something that's
Okay.
intended for good, and then use it in a bad way, you've hacked it.
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
if you break this down, Mike's computer, Mike has a website, right?
Right.
His website says, all right, if you want a request, say your name, say where you are from, and then I'll give you the request.
Okay.
So how it works, you go on there, you say your name, say where you are from. There's something that's over there waiting for that request. It will accept the request, and then the other part will process it. Well, what if I say, hey, Mike, hey, and then this one is like, okay, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? And then you are that right here, the guy who's accepting the request is not able to get the request. And then I keep on sending more things to him. Now he's going to be like, okay, I'm overwhelmed. What do you want? You know, it's just like when your kids were younger and then you had kids, grandkids, or everybody talking to you at the same time. What do you do?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's one form of attack, right? Right there. So they can just boom, everybody comes in, sends request. The system is like, okay, you know what? Stop. It gets overloaded. Bam,
Right.
shuts down.
And it shuts down.
Yes. Now, that brings us to where cybersecurity comes in. Cybersecurity comes in for three options.
Okay.
Confidentiality, making sure your systems are confidential. Who has access to what is the one who is able to see. Integrity, when Mike says, I penciled on my calendar, or you know what, he goes into his bank account, he put in $10,000, it actually shows $10,000. Nobody can go in and change those figures, right?
Okay, right.
And availability. If he tries to go onto his bank's website and he cannot get into his account, he's not going to be a happy guy.
Right, right.
So Mike wants to make sure that his bank account is confidential. Nobody can have access to it. And nobody can go and make changes to his bank account values. And lastly, he can always have access to that account, right? So every system that you will look at should fall under those three categories.
Okay.
But based on whatever system that we are talking about, one might trump the other. So, if you go on Amazon, I mean, yeah, if there's something on Amazon's website that the price is dropped down to $2 and it's actually supposed to be 10, it might be a big deal to them, right?
Right.
But it's still $2 they are getting. However, if the site is not available, if you try to go on Amazon's website and you can't get to Amazon's website, how would you feel?
Frustrated.
Exactly. So if you are trying to go on Netflix, you've paid for the service.
Right.
And it's not available. How are you going to feel?
Frustrated.
You go there first day, second day, and it's still not available. So availability is high priority for Netflix, right?
Right.
Well, again, I'll use the bank account values now. Integrity, if you put in $10,000, you go in and it's showing that it's 2. And you can't tell who made changes to it. And they're like, well, Mike, you only have $2,000 in your bank account. How are you going to feel?
Well, at the moment, I'd feel pretty good. But no, but so I put in $10,000 and now I look and my available balance is $2,000 from the 10. I've got mixed, I've got all kinds of feelings at that point.
Exactly.
Right. And I'm thinking, what did XYZ Bank do wrong? What could they have done to protect my hard-earned money?
Exactly.
I'm ticked.
And that's where you are talking about. So right there, you are getting into one of the crux of cybersecurity, which is what is the risk, right?
Right.
What is it that we have that we really want to protect, that people would want to have access to? What is that? Now, the next level after that is, what is the likelihood that someone is actually going to go attack that, or someone is actually going to go after that?
Okay, right.
Then we can talk about the cost, like we already mentioned. Well, how much is it going to cost to protect it, and how much is it going to cost to just, if someone actually takes it away?
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of from what you're telling me, Felix, right away, my knee-jerk reaction, and if I, a business owner, being a business owner, and as well as my clients, two things jump up to the beginning. One, to the forefront. One, I have an IT guy.
Yep.
Right. So he should be watching what's happening with our data. That's number one. Number two, just in one of the industries, we focus on two industries, transportation and franchising. Yep. Just in the transportation industry for brokers, okay, there's about 18,000 brokers out there. Okay. So I'm almost with my IT guy. Now my thought is, well, there's so many of us. Good luck finding me in the masses, right? So am I fairly well protected? What's the likelihood of someone coming to hack me? I mean, there's so many of us. It almost becomes we've overwhelmed the hackers, right?
Okay.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, I like that. So now I like your point here. Your question as well. There's so many of us. Why would anybody pick me?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, this is it. And I'm going to use, because again, I really like examples that are personal. If you see two guys walking around, big buff guy, scrawny guy, 135 pounds, which one do you think is likely to get in a fight?
Which do I think would be picked on?
Defeated in a fight, would get picked on. Yeah.
I would say the scrawnier guy.
Okay, so the guy that doesn't look like he has a lot going on.
Right.
So right there and then, if you have two attackers, or if you have attackers who are coming in, they are not going to go look at, why would they have to worry about going to the big guys who might have lots of systems to protect them? Low-hanging fruit. It also applies in security and hacking. Get the low-hanging fruit first. Now, what you might be saying is, well, what do I have to lose? What are they going to take from me?
You're right. Okay.
So we will say, okay, Mike, what do you care about? If I got on your podcast and I was able to get on your podcast without your knowledge and post a video on your website with you changing before you went to go do your modeling.
First of all, it'd be a hilarious video once everybody saw this, right? Who wants to see Mike Temple with his hairy back in a thong? Nobody. I'm protected. But I see what you're saying. That almost, confidentiality has now been breached, the integrity. But more on the serious note, what am I afraid of losing data on? Well, we have our banking information, our corporate banking information. We have the names of all of those who have access, right? And what their passwords are. We have invoicing information to our customers.
Absolutely.
Right. So now we've got a plethora of our customers that are open to an attack. And from what you're telling me, it sounds like part of the game is to sit in there quietly and extract all of this information.
Yeah. So there's a part about data modeling and looking at data in different parts where, today you can grab Mike's just login information of all his customers and their usernames and password or their invoices. That's fine and dandy. But, to Mike right now, that might not be a big deal. Yeah, fine, bye. I'll just find new customers, or I'll just tell my customers their data has been stolen. I'll start a new one. That's sure. But the smart ones can actually sit back and start to look, well, who is Mike's main customer? Which demographics do they coming from? What are the interests? Like they can look at the data in so many different angles and then predict what your next move is. So that's the part that makes it a little bit different, right?
Right.
Being able to look at who your target is, whatever data that they glean from you now, and then try to look at the data in different angles and say, oh, now I can even figure out what his health moves are. It's just like someone wears an Apple Watch. Okay, sure. Well, you steal my Apple Watch, then what?
Right.
Yeah, okay, but your Apple Watch has all of these other data points on there. Today, I've stolen the physical Apple Watch. But what else can I get from your Apple Watch? You wear your Apple Watch everywhere, don't you?
Right.
So I can figure out where you spend most of your time.
Right.
I can figure out if I know where you spend most of your time. Now I know what's most important to you.
Right.
I can come after your family if I know you spend your time at this specific address. And now it starts to get, a lot deeper, right?
Right.
So that's really it. And it's very, very simple to do. And there's the other part. We in America. Okay. If I steal your identity,
right,
I walk around like I am Mike Temple, will that be a problem? You cannot buy anything because you're going to have to go through a whole list of, well, your credit is da-da-da-da-da. Sorry.
Right.
You follow where I'm going with this, right?
I do.
And it's very, very simple. And people can pretend to be whoever it is. Yeah, they can pretend to be whoever it is. So like right now, if you got a text from your wife,
right,
and your wife said, Mike, hey, honey, I am in serious trouble. He's held me at gunpoint. I was able to get to my phone. Please come save me.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you see, your whole reaction just changed. Your voice just changed right there. You're like, ooh, but how can they do that?
And that in itself is the mystery. That's part of the mystery. So I think we're also learning from online systems to our data to now, from what you're telling me, a hack also includes, of course, the phone.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So now someone has access to my phone. We've gone to the Apple Watch, to our phones, right? Which we don't hear very much about. The scenario you just explained to me is if now someone has access to my wife's phone information. You didn't say that they had the phone. Do I understand correctly?
Yeah, go for it.
They don't have the phone, but they have her phone information.
Yep.
And they're able to send me a text that looks like it's coming from my wife saying, come here, I need your help.
Yeah. So we have a mutual friend, right?
Yeah. I think that's a lower chance of happening. That sounds like a lot of hoops to go through.
You think so?
I think so.
Well, me and you have a mutual friend.
We do. We've got a couple. Yeah.
So how about, we have. So how about you have your phone close to you?
I do. It's turned off, but I can see it right here. Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind turning your phone on?
Okay.
Hopefully no one calls,
Yeah, during that time.
That conversation.
Okay. Just got a text from my wife.
Oh,
it says she needs help. I'm ignoring it, Felix. I know what's going on here.
No, but imagine you are in it. Let me know when you are up and live.
It's up and running.
Okay, so imagine when you are up, you are busy, you are in the middle of something, and all of a sudden you start to see your friend calling you, like our mutual friend calling you.
Okay.
And same thing, I'm calling.
No. Okay. We have a mutual friend. That's the mutual friend.
Yep. And I'm the one calling right now. So the point is
this?
Yeah, you can answer.
Ann?
Well, hello there, Mr. Temple.
Wow.
Right here. All it takes is me figuring out who is important to you. I did not have to do anything much. Just figure out who is important to you, and I can pretend to be that person. Yep.
And that leads me, Felix, to a story we were discussing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the larger financial institution attacks, yep. Right? Yep. And I think it was a retailer.
Mm-hmm.
And they were attacked not from I guess you could say kind of a blind outside source.
Absolutely.
But a source familiar. Tell us a little bit about that, how this would look like on a corporate level.
So what we have seen.
That was freaky, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. What we have seen, and this is just one of the easier ones, simplest ones, right? Mm-hmm. And it goes all the way, and I'll come back to your question. It goes all the way from, pretending to be them in an email. I can even change my voice to be a girl, like everything.
Good luck with that. But anyhow, Felix.
You want to bet?
I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear what Felix sounds like as a girl. I don't want to go there. I'll take your word for it. You win.
So, now attacks, what we have been seeing is, unless they are a nation state actor, mm-hmm. where they have a lot of backing, they don't spend a lot of time going after the big dogs.
Right.
Like, why? Unless they have a lot of backing, why?
Well, like you said, who are you going to go pick that fight with? The big buff guy or the slimmer 135-pound guy who looks like they're not protected? And it sounds like, from what I'm understanding, Felix, individuals who have the bare minimum mm-hmm. of protection are the targets.
Well, I think everyone is the target. It just depends on what you have.
Okay.
So there are some times where you would be like, well, what? Okay. If I figure out that Target mm-hmm. has their front door open, and I can get into their front door and get out without getting detected, and Mike has his front door open, which one would I likely try? I think I'm going to go with Target. I mean, I like Mike and everything, but I don't think he has a lot of things like Target does. So
the retail store Target, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Or make it a third person. If I find Mike mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. has his front door open, well, through a mutual friend, I was able to find out that our mutual friend is a lawyer, who is Mike's lawyer, also has her front door open. Mm. I'm not going to go after Mike. I might say, well, if I go after Target, likelihood that I get caught will be high because they have a lot of money to back it and try to track me down. But if I go after the lawyer, guess who I have all of a sudden? I have Target, and I have Mike, and I have several other clients that the lawyer provides services to.
And you're talking about Target. When you say the word Target, you're talking about Target, the retail chain, correct?
Yeah. So So when I was talking about Target, I was talking about Target, the retail chain. But I was also using Target as, saying you are a target. Like if I have to go to you, that's what.
Okay.
So and this retail chain, I like that you brought that up. They were attacked the same way. Attackers came in. They did not decide that they were going to go through their store's front door and break the. No. They just found a utility company that they work with. Same thing that we're talking about. If I can pretend to be someone that you know, someone that you trust, it's easier for you to let them in. Utility company, and that's how they got hacked.
So you're saying that Target, the retail chain,
yep,
how they were attacked did not come. Well, yes, it was an outside source, but it wasn't someone who was coming in as openly as an outside source. In other words, it would be easy to detect. We don't recognize this, the strand here. They came in as the utility company.
Absolutely.
Under the guise of the utility company that Target, the retail chain, works with.
Yep.
So for our audience, for our listeners, this isn't always about finding something strange or out of the ordinary within your communications, that's easy to spot. So if, example, you get it, you get a charge on your bank account that comes from a bizarre looking source. That's easy to spot. But this utility company that Target was working with walks right in other words, wearing that utility company uniform, walks into the Target through whatever means. Target doesn't see anything strange with it. Utility company, go ahead and pay the bill or answer their questions.
Guess how much it cost Target? $18.5 million.
Well, I was getting ready to say $1,800,000. $18.5 million they were hacked for.
No, so they were hacked. They did not disclose. I don't remember the exact amount, but this is how much they had to pay in penalties as a
penalties.
18.5 million
in a penalty.
In a penalty because they were not protecting their data. So the other side of this is, okay, Mike, yeah, sure, you might not care. You're like, yeah, you know what? If people come in and then they're able to take things out, sure, that's okay. It's not a big deal. I don't have anything to hide. But for everyone who is a victim, you have to now provide identity protection for them, and the government will come after you for that. That alone can put you bankrupt.
So there's a double, of course, a penalty.
Yep.
I'm going to call it a penalty. One, whatever the hackers who were disguised as this utility came in, whatever they were able to extract from Target, the information they were able to extract, who knows what. And then once it was discovered, the government now steps in and says, not only are you going to lose what was lost to those hackers, we're now going to penalize you.
Yeah, Mike.
A fine, a fee of what? How much again?
18.5 million. Mike, you had 40 million people who come to your stores and use their credit card with you. You let those credit cards get stolen. That means that the people who stole those credit cards can sell it on the dark web, and people can use those same credit cards to go buy anything they want. And you know what they ended up doing? So someone would buy those credit card credentials. They would go on Home Depot website, buy a refrigerator, buy like big items, right?
Right.
Big stuff. You can only buy those in Home Depot. And then they will return it and get cash. Do you see how this works? So they buy a refrigerator for $6,000.
Right.
Buy a TV, another $4,000. That's $10,000 right there.
Right.
Because remember what we started with. Once they get in, they have to figure out a way to get out. The whole idea is about getting their money. So if they've been able to go in and steal the credit card data, it doesn't mean anything to them till they can turn it into hard cash for them. So if you've stolen all these credit card data from Target, what are you going to do with it? You're going to have to sell it. So you sell it first part, you make money. Now the people you sell it to, how do they also turn that into cash? They use it, they go into the big stores, they buy big ticket items. Now they bring it back in as a return, and they get a refund of cash.
Okay. and meanwhile, the person who had their data, their credit card information stolen. And of course, a big ticket item, Felix, you'd be able to spot, right? I mean, if a large item showed up on your bank statement, if you're watching it, right, you'd be able to spot that. But that almost doesn't sound like, again, from what I'm hearing you understand, it's don't get detected. So a lot of these charges could be on a smaller side.
Okay,
but it's so a volume of charges.
I'll give you an example. I had my Best Buy card stolen. I think I dropped it in the store. Someone grabbed it. They went to go buy an Xbox, and then they bought a MacBook. Okay, big ticket item. I just got the alert right away. I'm like, hey, I did not buy this. What happened?
Right.
What do? I call my credit card, my Best Buy credit card people, and I'm like, hey guys, I didn't do this. So what's going on? You're like, okay, we will launch an investigation into this, but we'll give you your money back.
Right.
But that person still walked away with those 2 items.
Right. Right.
So
and Best Buy is the one out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's that right there. If Best Buy had put security measures in place where before you even swipe the credit card, they would ask for a PIN or something like that.
Right.
They could have saved themselves the money.
And I also noticed, well, it sounds like there's a big supply chain around all of this, quite honestly, Felix, of, and the levels of data breach are numerous.
Yep.
And just because you have security, from what I understand, from what you're telling me, hacker might not always want you to know they are there. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They want to sit and squat, for lack of a better term.
Absolutely.
Like a parasite does, sucking off some blood. Not enough to sink you, but enough that makes it worth it to them. And the whole time you have no idea this is going on.
Yeah, because if you are able to detect it, and that's what we do in cybersecurity. We identify, we protect, we detect, then we deter, and then we respond.
Okay, give us that one more time.
So we have to identify what the threats are, what could be the threats. Then we have to come up with ways to protect it.
Okay.
Yep. Now we have to have a way to detect any changes are happening to that.
Okay.
And then from there, we have to come up with a way to deter.
Okay.
Yep. So how do we deter? We put cameras around, we put signs up, you put warning signals, all of that to deter people. And then if someone actually gets in,
right,
our job is to respond.
Okay.
And then we respond to, okay, people are in our systems right now. They are trying to steal our data. Let's stop them. Let's now make sure nothing leaves our environment so they can get into the bank.
Right.
They can't get out.
Okay. Or everything is locked down.
Yep. Or better yet, even if they're able to take things away from us, like you just said, it is locked down. They can never open it.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So this goes deep, Felix, and I think it goes deeper than one segment, one show.
Yep.
So I think we've kind of uncovered a few things. What is an attack?
Yep.
Right. Hacking is done in 3 parts: find the target, get in, get out. Right. I think we discussed it a little bit. And here's the scary part. Do you know if you've been attacked?
Yep.
From what you're saying, the hackers do not want you to know.
Absolutely.
You've been attacked, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's only in the high profile cases, and when it's almost something from a different element. Colonial Pipeline, JBS World Largest Meat. That's a different scenario than what it sounds like you're saying a majority of these are. They don't want you to know you're there, right?
Yep. So there are other countries that I'm not going to mention here where their governments pay them every day to sit and hack. So if they are able to execute, they have to claim, yeah, we did this. So those are the only instances where they claim that they've done that. But for the most part, you just want to stay undetected.
Just want to stay undetected.
Yep.
We talked a little bit about the steps, what the steps of that attack are, which we just kind of identified a little bit there. And what's at risk? Also, what does this do to the credibility of the organization that was attacked? What's at stake? Confidentiality, the integrity of the company, availability. Can you give us another quick highlight of what you mean by the availability?
So the availability will depend on what the company is, right?
Right. That's right.
Example, like if you are Netflix,
Correct. Okay.
Availability is your number one spot.
Correct.
You want to make sure you are available.
Right. Your service is available. That's okay. That's what I understand.
Yep.
Okay. And then now you touched a little bit on what cybersecurity is supposed to do: identify, protect, detect,
yep,
and then deter.
Yep.
Felix, it sounds like these are, I mean, hackers are ever evolving, because we saw the state, the stats and the data.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the minimum, I say minimum, but I don't think it's enough, that organization can do to deter some of these cyber attacks?
Yeah. So it goes in so many different ways. Number one, please use complex passwords.
Okay.
We are still battling with folks that have very, 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 very simple passwords that will take 3 seconds and the password is cracked. Change your password often. We say at the very minimum, every 90 days, change your password.
Okay.
Use a complex password, change your password.
Okay.
Number two, use systems for what they are supposed to be used for.
Okay.
So if you want to have, don't use your work computer as the same computer you watch Netflix on.
Okay.
That's simple.
Okay.
Don't use your computer as the same one that your kids play on. Don't do that.
All right.
If your kids have iPads, especially now, if your kids have iPads, set the security on those. Make sure they connect to a different network if you can.
Right.
And don't use the same Apple ID. It's
Okay.
just that simple. Every step of the way, make it hard for the attacker.
Okay. Okay.
Now, moving from there, so we talked about what access and what access you have to have and what access is what. If you can, when folks come on your home Wi-Fi, give them guest access.
Set up a guest access.
Yeah.
Not what is your access.
Not what is your access.
Home. Okay.
If you can, set up a guest access.
Okay.
Anything happens, just take that off.
Okay.
It's those simple things. And most importantly, keep your systems up to date.
Meaning,
if Apple releases a new operating system update,
okay,
don't check it to the side.
All right.
It.
I feel like I'm being shamed here, people.
Yeah.
Update it.
You know what, though? Yeah. Because there is something called vulnerabilities. Right. Vulnerabilities show the different ways that as an attacker, they can get into your environment. So let's just say you use Anderson keys. If an Anderson key has a vulnerability, has a way that you can put in 2 pins and then you can unlock the key. Right. And Anderson has come out and say, hey, you know what? We have fixed this loophole. And you don't change your key, you are still vulnerable. That means someone can come in and then use that same way to get into your house. So that's the same thing that's happening with the updates on our phones. That's the same thing that's happening with the updates on our computers. Update that. Just do it.
Okay. It's not bad. All right. Yep. To go through the update.
Yep. If you do those little things, it will, now you stand to look like the buff guy walking down the street. Because if I see your laptop and I see, it has this update, it has this version, let's just go on to the next one. Okay. Not that it can be hacked. It can be, but you don't want to spend your time going through that for what?
Looking for that low level.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the next person who has things super duper easy. And another thing, don't just connect to any Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And someday I can do a demonstration where I can show you where I have tools that I can come in. And then, so I get into Mike's house. This is why I'm saying set up a guest access for your guest. I get into your house. I have this tool. I set it up. It actually logs every Wi-Fi that I've connected to. Now, let me do a simple explanation of how your Wi-Fi works, right? Right. That way you can understand how we can use that again. I said, hacking is when you turn something good to something bad. Right. So let's break it down. And I know we are running out of time here, But so your Wi-Fi, let's just say you have Mike's Wi-Fi when you get home.
Right.
On your phone, you connect to Mike's Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So whenever you are home, your phone is saying, where is Mike's Wi-Fi? Where is Mike's Wi-Fi? Where? Oh, there it is. I found it. Then Mike's Wi-Fi will say, hey, well, what's your username? What's your password? And then your phone will say, well, you know who I am. My username is this. My password is that. And then it will log in.
Okay.
So when you leave the house, what is your phone doing? It's still looking, where is Mike's Wi-Fi? Where is Mike's Wi-Fi? Where is Mike's Wi-Fi?
Okay.
So imagine if I can create a clone, or I can create another Wi-Fi spot that is called the same as yours as Mike's Wi-Fi.
Okay.
As soon as your phone sees that, your phone is going to be like, oh, hey, Mike's Wi-Fi, there you are. Oh, and I know you're going to ask me what my username and password is. So there you go.
And it's not even the same. So it's a ghost, for lack of a better term, it's a ghost Wi-Fi made to look like your home Wi-Fi.
Exactly. It's the same thing when you get into a hotel. It's the same thing when you get into the airport. Same thing. Now, this is the cool part that this tool does. It will also tell me every single Wi-Fi that you've connected to. So now, not only do I have Mike's Wi-Fi, I have every single place you've been to.
Right.
And I can set up clones.
Okay.
So be very wary of what you connect to. Make sure emails that you get, if it says click on this link, it has any urgency, like you have to do this now, pause for a second.
Okay.
Nothing is that serious. Check where the sender is coming from.
Okay.
Make sure if it has a link on there, you can just use your mouse and put the pointer on the link. It will highlight it, and then it will show you the URL. So if it's supposed to be google.com and you highlight it and it does not show google.com, you're in trouble. So very, 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 these are some of the simple things that you can do. I have this that I can show you. So I try to do an attack of someone here. I find my target like we talked about. I said, hey, let me find if this person is on any one of these sites like Snapchat, YouTube, WhatsApp, right?
Right.
Email address. Now I send them an email and I say, hey, you know what? You have this in your Facebook account. You know, this looks like it's coming from Facebook, right?
It does.
But if you look over here, look at where it's coming from.
Notification plus. Okay. Now it does have at Facebook mail.
Yeah, but it's not facebook.com.
Oh. It's Facebook mail.
Exactly. That I set up.
No. Okay. Very small, slight.
Very slight changes that if you are not paying attention to, you are going to miss. Facebook is not going to make a spelling error. Facebook is not, like, very, very simple things. If you pay attention, you will be able to tell. And then once you click on the link, click on here. Once you click on the link, it brings you to Facebook. But if you are not paying attention, look at this.
Oh, up in the URL.
Exactly.
It doesn't say Facebook. It says something about LOLMGZ, but the page looks like a Facebook page.
Exactly. And now you put in your username and password. What do I have?
Now you've got email, right? Now you have that person's email and a password that potentially is used in more than one place.
Exactly. Simple steps, and I'm already in.
Well,
all right.
My head is spinning, folks. Listeners, if your head is spinning as well, I'll be honest with you, it should. If you felt a little overwhelmed and kind of confused about what is Felix talking about, you should, because this is exactly what's happening with cyber attacks. My theory is that the next line of robbery, for lack of a better term, is not going to be from the individual coming into your home to extract your personal information, your wallet that they hope to find on your counter, or the convenience store. Of course, those are not going to go away. But your next, line of convenience store attacks is going to be on the web via cybersecurity, where everyone is a potential victim. We've seen it played out in the news here. Felix just showed you how often? Every 204?
206 days it takes. Or you mean like every 14 seconds?
Every 14 seconds, there's a hack. And just because it's not you, directed at you personally, if it's directed with anyone you do business with, you're now a potential victim to that hack. Felix, for those who are business owners, that's our audience. Do you do consulting for business owners on cybersecurity?
Yep, I do a security assessment where I give you an overview of where your security is at and what you can do specific to you to actually protect yourself.
Felix, where can they get a hold of you?
Right now, our site is still under construction.
Okay.
But you can send me an email.
Okay.
At training at premierchoiceconsulting.com. So training.
I'll put it right up here, folks, right above Felix's head over there, where you can see his email address.
And you can find me on LinkedIn as Felix Asare as well.
I'll put that information there as well, if that's okay with you, Felix. I don't want you to get hacked here, but so again, Felix, thank you so much for being a guest, for introducing our audience to what a cyber attack is, what they're starting to look like now, and most importantly, what they're starting not to look like. They don't want to be detected. Introducing us to this dark world that is beneath us. Again, that's how you can get a whole look at the email above Felix's image there. And I'll put this in the link as well for our podcast listeners. Felix, thank you so much for introducing and educating us to what cybersecurity looks like moving forward.
It has been a pleasure, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right.
You've been listening to the Temple Executive Coaching Podcast, where we engage with experts in business growth for small and medium-sized companies. If you're an expert and would like to be featured on the Temple Executive Coaching Podcast, please email Mike Temple at mike@templeexecutivecoaching.com.